Okay, so this is just a quick matching activity where we're going to have some quadratic graphs. So it's y or f of x equals x squared plus bx plus c. It's going to be in the shape of a parabola, and you're going to match it to its standard vertex and intercept form. So let's go through the directions. Step 1, you're going to look at the graph and determine the vertex, intercepts, and if the a value is the coefficient in front of the x, is positive or negative. And that will allow you to determine the correct description. So you look at the graph, and then you're going to get the right description. Then you're going to find the correct vertex form by matching the vertex. That's where the graph either bottoms out or tops out, and the graph to its vertex form. The vertex is HK, okay? And then you're going to find the correct intercept form by matching the intercepts where it hits the x-axis in the description and the graph to the intercept form. F of x equals a times x minus p times x minus q. So when we factor equations out, what we're finding is what values would make x equal 0. Those are the intercepts. And the intercepts are at p0, q0. And finally, you're going to find the correct standard form by using the FOIL method or the tabular method to multiply out the intercept form and get standard form. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the graph and find the description. So I'm just going to tear these papers apart. Okay, purposely copied them so you can have them all laid out in front of you. So graph number 1. Okay, so we've got to look at the graph. Okay, so what I can see here is that my vertex right here, that's my vertex where it bottoms out. Okay, that's at x is 1, y is negative 4. It opens up, so I know my a. In all of these graphs, our a is going to be either positive or negative 1. Okay, and my intercepts occur at x equals negative 1, and again at x equals 3. So I know that. So let's look at our descriptions. So I'm going to get out my description sheet, and I'm going to see which of those descriptions matches that. So the easiest thing to look for first is probably the vertex. So if I'm looking at my vertexes, boom, boom, okay, right here, okay, 1, negative 4. Let's see if the other stuff matches. Okay, I have x-intercepts at 3 and 0, yep. Okay, because I said x equals 3, so y would be 0 if it's an intercept, and x equals negative 1. And then also the y-intercept, where it hits the y-axis, is at 0, x is 0, y is negative 3, and that is also true here. So this is graph 1. Oops, not D5, graph 1. Okay, so on my form, the description, this is description number 6. So I'm going to say D6 here. All right, so now step 2, find the correct vertex form by matching the vertex in the description and graph to the vertex form. So I know my vertex occurs at 1, negative 4. So my vertex form, okay, is going to have a times x minus 1 plus negative squared, plus negative 4. So it's going to be a x minus 1 squared minus 4. Okay, so now I'm looking at my vertex forms. See how these have D's in front of them? That's because these are descriptions. These have V's in front of them because they're vertex form. So I'm looking for the vertex form, and remember I said a was going to be positive or negative 1. I know in this case it's positive 1, okay, because my graph opens up, and I'm looking for x minus 1 squared minus 4. So if I'm looking at all of these, boom, right there, okay? So this is graph 1. and I can put a V1 here. Now I'm going to do my intercept form. The intercept is where x, or the graph hits the x-axis. So the y value is 0. And we knew from our description of this graph that our intercepts are at x equals -1 and x equals 3. So now I'm looking at my intercept form options, and they are labeled with an I for intercept. Okay? And remember, with intercepts, it's the opposite. Okay? So we got to look at these and figure out, okay, which of these would zero out when x equals 3 and x equals -1. And if I'm looking at all these, and I can't have a negative out front because those are parabolas that open downward because their a value is negative. And if I'm looking, it's right there. Okay, when x is 3, that's 0. When x is -1, that's 0. So it's intercept form 5. So I put an I, 5 there. Standard form. To get the standard form, you just FOIL your intercept form. So we found this one, and it might make it easier for you if you copy down the intercept form here. So now I'm just going to FOIL this. X squared -3x plus x is -2x. -3 times +1 is -3. So now I'm going to look for the standard form that looks like this. In the standard form, it looks like that, and they have the S's for standard form. Okay, not trying to be terribly tricky here. Is right there. X squared minus 2x minus 3. So that's graph 1, and this is standard form 2. The only thing you're actually going to be turning in for this activity, okay, is this thing. I would actually like you to write down your equations. -4. Okay. All right, so that's the first example, and hopefully that's enough to get you going. Good luck.